Oh my goodness. He's back. Here now with another episode of The Guru Learns is the guru himself, Tom Drake.
And welcome to the second episode of The Guru Learns. Today we visit with Cruise Director Emeritus, I gave her that title, who retires March 3rd after 38 years in the cruise industry. You know, the purpose of this podcast is for the guru to sit with people who know more than he does. And after 38 years as a chief babysitter on cruise ships around the world, we welcome Dottie Kulasa to the podcast for the second time, or is it the third time we're doing this?
Hello, Tom.
It's been a few times. We've had some audio issues. So we're spending the day, when I would normally watch college football, we're spending the day making sure people get to hear this podcast. And we welcome you. As I alluded to earlier, you retire on March 3rd. Are you sad about that?
Oh, no, I'm very excited. It's the next chapter of my life. After 38 years at sea, it's time.
Let's go back to the beginning. It was a long, long time ago when you decided you wanted a life at sea. What happened?
Well, I took my first cruise when I was 19. I was still in college at the Indiana University of Pennsylvania. I was a junior, and I fell in love with it. When I got on board, I watched what they were doing.
Whose idea was it to go on the cruise?
It was a friend of mine who had asked.
They knew about cruise.
They just she needed a roommate.
Did you know? You knew about it from the Love Boat, though.
I watched the Love Boat, on occasion.
All right, so
I watched them work, and I'm like, I can do this. Yeah. And I fell in love with being surrounded by water. It was absolutely a beautiful sight to me. So I told my friend, I said, if it takes me 10 years, I'm going to do it.
Now, I know part of your life story for obvious reasons. So you graduated college, and you were lucky to get a job as a director of community relations, public relations.
Yes, the McKeesport Hospital. It was a 500-bed hospital in my hometown. So I was 3 miles from work, which was nice. And I spent 7 years there. I loved my work there. Every vacation we took with my girlfriends was a cruise.
Yeah.
We would take a week off in the wintertime, obviously in January, because that was the coldest month in McKeesport.
Sure.
And we went on a cruise. And I would try to talk to anyone I could get my hands on, how do I get a job? And I was very lucky on one of my Sitmar cruises. Mark Edwards, the cruise director, took 15 minutes out of his day and sat with me, told me what I needed on my resume. I had it in my background. I just didn't realize it was important. So I went home, redid my resume, did a letter writing campaign in 1986, netted me absolutely nothing. Mm-hmm. In 1987...
You know what? It would happen again today.
Yeah, probably. In 1987, I went down to Miami, pounded the pavement for 4 or 5 days, and I went to as many cruise lines as I could. Back in the day, most of the cruise lines were headquartered in Miami or the surrounding areas.
Long before the internet, long before Zoom, long before emails, that was the way to get in front of the people that might possibly offer you employment.
The first interview I went for, the first company I went into was Regent, the old Regent.
Yeah, not the Regent Seven Seas luxury part of our family. That was two ships. With Greek officers. How you doing? Oh, the ship is on fire? Go faster. It'll blow itself out.
It was, they only offered 3-day cruises. You sat in Miami Monday till Friday till the next cruise. But it was a job offer. He offered me a job at the end of the interview. I'm like, oh, this is going to be easy. So he said, before you leave, he said, do me a favor. He says, you're going to be here for the week. He said, I'll hire you today. He says, but when you finish for the week, before you accept a job offer, call me back.
Plus, you would have had to spend 4 days in Miami.
He said you would need a car. It would,
you have
taxis
to move there.
Back then
you'd have to get an apartment and live there.
So I went to Carnival. They had already hired for the season.
You're lucky.
I had gone to Royal Caribbean. You needed to perform. You were a part of the cast. So singing and dancing, I didn't do. No. I sang a little bit, but not well. And then I went to Costa. You had to have a language. Yeah. And then I went to Norwegian, and there was it was a great interview, number one. That's the one thing I remember with Jim Highnote. And at the end of the interview, he said, well, you'd be perfect for the position. I'm thinking about starting. We're not quite ready. We'll keep you in mind. So I called the gentleman back at Regent, and he said, how'd you make out? Told him what had happened. And I told him about Norwegian. He says, well, I'll hire you today. He says, but if Tell me what you want to do. I said, I'm going to go home and wait for Norwegian. I said, it sounds like it's going to happen soon, sooner than later.
Offering just a little bit of background, my nickname is Tommy Footnote here. 38 years ago, to get a job in the cruise industry was not easy. There were many ships, and also the job of cruise director was extremely lucrative because at the time they did the shopping talks and they told people to go to Diamonds International,
sure, excursion talks,
and they got a piece of the action, a lot of action. They were carrying briefcases full of money and having cases of liquor sent. I've seen that. I saw it. Cases of liquor delivered to the ship by Reese. So that's why it was not easy to get your high heels in the door.
No.
So.
Well, I went
and they
home.
were high heels back then.
I went home and I waited. And it waited 13 months. Yeah. And I was at the hospital again for 7 years. On March 30th, I just decided, that's it. I'm on my way. I can find wanted something different.
Time to put McKeesport in the rearview mirror.
Well, I hadn't heard from the cruise lines. I just thought, well, maybe I'll go into Pittsburgh, into the big city. Yeah. There we go. And the next day, my secretary had called me and she said, you have a couple messages. And she's a gentleman who needs to talk to you immediately. I said, all right, give me his name.
Normally, when I get a message like that, it's the IRS.
Jim Highnote. And I screamed. And she said, who was that? I said, that's the gentleman I interviewed at Norwegian Cruise Line. She said, I thought so. So I called him and he said, you probably thought I forgot about you. And I said, well, not forgot, but just had no openings. He says, well, if you're ready, I need you May 1st in San Juan. So I packed my bags. I can remember sitting at the airport with my mom and dad, my best girlfriend, Barbara, and two of her 3 kids at the time. And off I went to Miami, and then from Miami to San Juan to join the Starward. That was my very first ship.
Do we feel that same excitement we're at the airport these days?
I still do. I still get excited. I love what I do. I
only like it when we get there and unpack.
Well, that's
and I go to the waves bar.
The worst 2 days of a contract, the day you arrive and the day you leave.
So there you are. Where'd you go? San Juan?
I went to San Juan. I was the Norwegian Starward. Yeah. It was one of their small ships, 650 guests. The staff consisted of the cruise director, assistant cruise director, social hostess, which I was, Fit with Fun director, who did all the fitness classes and the sports events, and then the shore excursion manager was a team of 5.
Production cast,
Production cast was there, but they performed and then they did other events. Yeah. There were 6 of them as well.
Now you joined Insignia on November 12th for a spectacular 26-day Amazon River cruise. There you go. Piranhas. How big's your
the cast is 6.
Yeah.
I have it's 20 of us with all the musicians. Yeah. Well, I'm included in that. Okay. So it's a team of 20, but it's myself really. My assistant is part of the cast, and the hostess is part of the cast.
So it's still fun, but it hasn't gotten easier.
Well, I appreciate everything my cast does for me on the ship. So little things I don't give them, I just do myself. So I find myself with a lot of minutia. That again, I appreciate what they do, and I want them to be on the top of their game when they do it. So I don't want to bottle them up with little stuff.
The way you are today, the way you perform as a cruise director now, that comes from years ago. Certainly, God rest his soul, not Bruce Shafkin, but but the cruise directors of yesteryear.
Yes. God rest his soul, Rod Pierce was my very first cruise director, and he would do the gangway. We would do it together. I would hand out the shopping maps because we did the shopping talks together. He would be on the gangway. I would be on there to answer any questions about the shopping promotion. He'd be just saying, have a great day, just for visibility.
We always say the words old school. Yes. Because it is old school, and this is not an indictment of the current situation. It's just there's a difference now. Mm-hmm. It's just as I perform on other lines, and even we don't live in a vacuum, so we hear from other guests who are on this ship, whatever, where are you, Dottie, kind of a thing. It's just the way you work. And that's because you watched people. And also when you were a social hostess and then an assistant cruise director and you had your first opportunity to present a show, this was a big deal.
I did that as a social hostess.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
It was.
It's not a big deal to people anymore like it was back then. Yes. You're going to go on stage and you're going to be talking So
we didn't have an assistant cruise director for one period. Luis Lamar at the time was my cruise director. He came to myself and the shore excursion manager, again, God rest his soul, David Sweet, and said, hey, well, now I'm visiting new countries. First time for me in Europe, England, Ireland, France, Italy, all these ports, and then we get into Scandinavia. Back in the day when we had 3 days in St. Petersburg, Russia. What a great itinerary.
They were great times. It was a different time. The company was family owned. It was a freewheeling kind of operation. It was that way. And all the cruise lines now, they're all controlled by 3 major people. It's much more HR. There was no HR back then.
There was no HR back then.
It was a different time. And I was performing on ships in the Caribbean when my agent left a voicemail that I needed a passport because I had to go to England, and I didn't want to go to England because I didn't want to fly there. But I did go there, and I joined the Norwegian Crown in Dover, England, a long, long time ago.
I was sitting at my assistant's desk in the big office on the Crown, and in walks Tom, and he says, hi, I'm Tom Drake, the new comedian. I'm looking for the cruise director. And I stood up, I put out my hand, I said, you found her. And he said he felt something the minute he shook my hand.
Yes, I did. It was just gas. Thank you. I'm here all week. Try to reel in a waitress. No, I flew Delta Economy. You don't have the meal, Cake Gourmet. So anyway,
I was on the Crown for about a little over a year, and then we moved to the Dream, South America. Again, first time for the ship for the company in South America.
But then they also called you back.
Well, I was on vacation, and you were on the Majesty. Yeah. They called for an emergency fill-in, and you said, "Take it, I'm there." And so I figured, what the heck? It was only for 4 or 5 weeks. So I went on the Majesty, and while I was home the first couple of weeks, I knew they were doing the transatlantic on the SS Norway, and I'm thinking, I'd give my right arm to do that cruise. And back in the day, we used to do the layout, and that was what we presented to the hotel division, and they added the activities in. But the cruise director set the pace for the cruise. And
something you would never see in today's climate, but it went transatlantic to Le Havre, and while it was there, it was opened up to the French citizens who waited in line. I don't know, the lines were forever, so they could tour the old SS France. So, that was a very important thing to. Now, if you wanted to bring all those people on, and the paperwork involved in the passports and all the other stuff, but it was quite historic. Except they recreated the French menu, and the Americans are like, "Where's the real food?"
Well, back in the day, every day on a crossing was formal. So I made the whole crossing. I had done the layout in advance. And then Peter called and said, I really need you to do me a big favor. I said, what? He said, I need you to do the Norway crossing. I says, I'm there.
Yeah.
I'll do it. And
how many formal nights?
6 going across. He said, the only problem is, he said, we need the layout like as soon as possible. I said, you'll have it tomorrow. He says, tomorrow? Because I was in Atlanta because the baby had just been born. So I had gone to Atlanta, and I was still, again, I just did it as an exercise. I said, let me firm it up. Tell me who I have, what we're going to do. And I sent the layout the next day. They couldn't believe it. But again, I had already worked on it. So that was probably the most historic, the most treasured cruise. I just enjoyed it so much. But walking down the promenade one day, there was a guest I overheard. He said, does this cruise director know what the word casual means? Because again, we were recreating the SS France. So
not everybody understood that. I don't know what they were thinking when they signed up. That was the idea. The menus were from the SS France. Those were the recipes. Everything was to feel what it was like to go across the pond on the SS France. And not everybody wrapped their head around that, to be honest with you.
Sailing out of New York, it was absolutely amazing.
So you went back to the Dream. We went back to the Dream. And then, all things, good things.
Well, then the Norwegian Sky. Brought in the Norwegian Sky.
That's right. I forgot about that.
In 2000, that was the first new ship for Norwegian Cruise Line in years. There was never, I think the Seaward came in when I joined the company because that opened up a spot. So in 11 years,
and
it hadn't been.
You got to be the cruise director for the inaugural of the Sky, and many, it is quite an honor, except that it involves coveralls,
Yes.
dirty shoes.
Well, you do what you have to
aches.
do. You pitch in and do what you have to do to get the ship ready.
Yeah, and it's a lot of work.
It is.
It's a lot of work.
Well, and then when you go into all the new ports, there's tours and travel agents coming through and VIPs coming through. So,
but you were there with Don Shula.
On the stage, I was the MC of the christening ceremony, and I was right next to Don Shula when he pulled the lever and broke the bottle. Yeah. It was exciting.
Where did we go after that? I forget.
Well, we were on the Sky for a year, and then we went back to the Norwegian Dream.
Oh, we did. Okay.
We went back to Scandinavia.
I don't remember the past very well.
We were married. We were married at that point in time.
Oh, pretty exciting! Then
1999 was the big day.
Pretty exciting, and I will tell you that this is supposed to be me interviewing Dottie, but as a background, I was the one that said to Dottie, things have changed. Their ownership changed. The Kloster Friendly was gone, and our old friend Limcock Day now owned a Norwegian cruise line. And that's an entire podcast. So I conned my wife into leaving and going to Holland America because I was performing there and I liked the product and I knew Bill Prince, the vice president of entertainment over there. And I said, you should talk to my wife. And he did. And next thing you know, we're heading to the Zuiderdam for Holland America. This exciting change.
And it was their new ship at the time.
It was their new ship.
To give a brand new cruise director the new ship.
Yes.
He put a lot of faith in me.
Well, he did. And then you arrived the day before for the handover. And what happened?
And when I sat down to I said any handover notes to the other cruise director, she had resigned. She said, there's a floppy disk on the computer. Everything's on there. When I put it in, Bill was standing over my shoulder. I put it in and opened it and there was nothing on it. It was completely blank.
And the cruise director that was leaving was out all night long.
Of course.
So he wasn't answering the phone. And so you went on the Zuiderdam, the newest ship for Holland America, without any handover, any explanation of how they do things and how that worked out fine.
It was perfect.
It's activities.
I always say I can do my job on a tugboat if I have to.
Yeah. But again, there were some issues there with the staffing because back in the day, the discount for liquor was 67% off for staffing. So a Long Island iced tea was $1.65. And these guys went all through Long Island at $1.65 each. So there were some problems, but you dealt with all that.
Yeah, I had three guys that I called the Three Musketeers because they always got in trouble no matter what. And I always was the one that found them. And
then they found the gangway. And so then we could go. There was another move in there, but then we arrived at Oceania.
Well, I had short stints on Princess Celebrity and Azamara.
Yeah. My fault again.
In the transition.
My fault again because I thought Dottie should have her own comedy theater in Orlando with her name in lights. Dottie's Orlando Comedy Theater. Oh, this can't miss. Oh boy. Yeah. So we were lucky enough that we both knew Michael Day in some form.
Michael Day was my port lecturer on the SS Norway. He was your first cruise director on Renaissance.
On Radisson Diamond.
And he knew us separately and then brought us together at Oceania 17 years. It will be 17 years November.
And the rest, as they say, is history. But, looking back at what you learned with the dinosaurs, with the old, the way it was in the old days to what it is the new days, you have to adapt in a way. You have to adapt in I know you don't.
I know I don't.
Yeah. And one particular area of that is the gangway. Many cruise directors now, and again, it's not an indictment. It's just strictly reporting. They choose to just sleep in.
No, they have to be up to make the announcement.
Well, but
then.
And I'm not just singling out Oceania, or it's that way in general. But there's a funny story about you and a general manager with the gangway.
When I joined the Insignia, Laurence Barrasse was the food and beverage manager, the previous contract I'd worked with her, and now she's general manager, my first time working with her. And I go down the first morning onto the gangway and she's standing there. I said, "What are you doing here?" She said, "I'm standing on my gangway." I said, "No, this is my gangway." And we did it together. But she was there every morning with me. And it's all about accessibility, that people see you. You wish them a great day, oh, what are you doing? You talk about the tours when there's a little bit of a backup here and there. And sometimes they feel they can't talk to the cruise director. So it gives you that open avenue of conversation that, hey, we talked to Dottie this morning, let's talk to her. Now, I always say at my church service, I said, it may not, if you have a problem, you can contact me. May not deal with the entertainment department that I'm responsible for, but I certainly know who to contact.
And it means you do care. You want,
yeah, of course you do.
They pay a lot of money. It should be right. And if they're not happy, then you have to make them happy.
Well, you have to at least get them in communication with the department that is involved, and then go from there.
Had an email from a listener about what happens. We know what Dottie does on stage, and we see her knitting, and we see her on the gangway, and we see her everywhere. But what happens in the office? So now we deal with scheduling. Back in the day, it was 2 shows a night.
2 shows.
Well, and then there was always an activity after the second show. Then there was
11:30.
Then there was the midnight buffet.
Yes.
You know, it's interesting. Now I'm taking too much time, but there are some that look at the entertainment department and think that it's an easy job, and it isn't, because you're the face of the cruise line, more so than the officers and certainly the management.
You should be the most visible.
Yeah, and your hours are when it gets dark.
They are what they are.
But now that freestyle cruising came out, thanks to Colin Beach at Norwegian Cruise Line, where he decided that people should be able to go to the restaurant whatever they want.
Well, this is back in 2001.
Yeah, and we were on the dream when that happened, and it didn't work. But that's not.
Well, that's because the ship wasn't built for it.
Didn't have enough restaurants.
No.
Now they do. They have plenty of them. And so now, when you go to schedule, you look at the day, and it's a port day. And when they come back is when it begins, right?
Well, I usually have some things going on through the day. We have the sporting events throughout the day, just something for the people to do. It depends. If it starts raining, you put a movie on, you put activities in, you put a lecture on, but it depends on the day where you are. So if it's a port day, after I'm done with the gangway, I go to the office, I work on the schedule. The daily program, obviously we put the program together with our marketing person. They do the computer work. I just make my marks on the proof and then the changes, and then
not going there.
They make all the changes, and then that's how we produce the program. There's meetings that I have to go to, 3 or 4 meetings every cruise that happen that I have to go to. I have to prepare my trivia, of course. That is a priority. So I usually get my trivia printed for the cruise at the very beginning. I just sit and print up what questions I'm going to do, and then they're done. And various things. You've got reports to do, performance reviews to do on the staff, depending on whether they're done with their contract, whether it's a 30-day probationary performance review. So all that's done behind the scenes.
And then
letters and schedule.
And then before the show, hosting the tables.
Yes. Which
many cruise lines have done away with now, including the officers. Very seldom, but you still do that.
Yeah.
I do it too. And that's how we were lucky enough to make so many friends over the years.
Yes.
And that's why, our new company, Best at Sea Tours, Always an Adventure, will be successful because people know they can trust. If you're on a cruise with us, you will have fun. Now, last cruise on Crystal Serenity, Dottie was not in charge because she's still under contract with Oceania. So I was in charge of the fun. I am the chief fun guy at Best of Sea Tours, and we had a lot of fun. And going forward, that's what we will do. When you finally walk down the gangway for the last time, you're not retired as a cruise director. You're now a boutique cruise director.
There we go.
People are going to pay a premium to have you keep an eye on them, anywhere from 14 to 24 people. And when I first came up with that idea, you looked at me a little bit, but now you're...
Oh, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
And we did have a lot of fun. And hosting tables is not a chore.
No.
Well,
you got to eat.
Well, once in a while, it happens from time to time. But you look at the changes in the way the business has gone, how it's evolved. The production shows in the old days were outsourced to Gina and Ryan.
Yes.
And Gina and Ryan produced the most amazing Broadway spectaculars. The old
shows.
North Cape Lounge wasn't one of the shows like 90 minutes or something like that?
No, those were all on the Norway. They were all in the Saga Theater.
In the Saga Theater, I meant to say, yeah.
Yes, there was Which show was it? Was it Meet Me in St. Louis? Might have been Meet Me in St. Louis that was that long.
And
they did a shortened version of them, but still
they were
long.
So when you hear me talk about the new shows on this and those shows on that, I laugh out loud because it's all been done before, especially by Jean Ann back. And I don't know, because we've done this 3 times this afternoon, if we did cover the fact that the NCL in the day, Kloster family, created the private island, created the sports fitness, created the dive-in program, created destinations. That was all first created, and you were there as that got worked out in terms of how everything worked out. And you were there. One of the jobs of the cruise director back in those days was trying to keep the divers sober, which is very, very difficult to do. And I know one diver that's going to be listening to this podcast, and that's why I kind of slipped that in there. So.
Well, there were 2 divers, Kelvin and Devin. They wanted to do the crossing so badly on the Norway, they offered to be hosts.
And they couldn't function.
No, they did a very good job. I said, you know, you're going to have to do library. They're like, we'll be great. But they really did, because they wanted to do.
I remember him at the doors, like mumbling a lot, but that might have been me. Might have been just heard the mumbling. I'm not sure. So going forward, March 3rd comes, Dottie's last hurrah. Somewhere in the area, 60 people are joining us as part of that celebration. You can always find out about that, by the way, at bestofseatours.com. All the information is there.
Well, I'm looking forward to it, because I've got my whole family coming. My brother and his wife, Ben and Kathy are coming. My sister Janice, who never goes away. She's only ever been on one cruise with me. She's coming. And my sister Marianne and her husband John are coming.
So you look back at the highlights, the SS France, Norway first, the France, Clea tour.
I did the Clea tour. I was representing Norwegian Cruise Line back in the day. The Clea organization would select, or the cruise line would select, one cruise director that would represent the line and the industry on a media tour. You had 5 cities that you went to. New York first for a little bit of a training session, and then you'd go out for 5 cities. It was like 6 days. And you did news, print, and media, or television and radio and print, interviews. They set the interviews up. I had someone who kind of made sure I got to where I needed to be, when I needed to be there. And that was a lot of fun.
And I'm not sure that they do it anymore, and they should. They probably don't do it anymore, because they can't find the people to put out there that'll do it right.
Yeah, I don't know that they do.
And the other thing is, I'll say something you would never say, because it's not like you to brag. You were one of the first female cruise directors. Okay.
I was the 3rd at Norwegian.
Yeah, and in general in the business, there weren't that many. And then over the years, your assistant cruise directors were, if they were female, you worked with them. And this is really true. Dottie wore a red suit on the Welcome Aboard show. And those assistant cruise directors that eventually became cruise directors, and you were responsible for promoting those.
Many of them.
They all bought a red suit. They all had a red suit. I don't know
about the guys.
No, well, nowadays.
There were some guys too.
No, but so when you look back at all the people that you trained over the years, all the people, and you, right now, again, 3rd time we're doing this, so I don't remember. I should have wrote notes. Robbie is a good one. Naming names will get us in trouble.
I know.
But in the last year, Robbie and Natasha are 2 cut from the same cloth. It can't be too much work. They can't do it. They just want to do it right. And that's fun when you look back. And by the time you leave, they probably will both, if not promoted, they're close to being promoted.
They should be.
So that's rewarding.
It is. That is. Well, that's what I started working on after a couple of years. Once I got my footing in the position, then it was more fun watching other people get promoted. Social host or hostesses being promoted to assistants, working with them, and then them becoming a cruise director. And because now the openings are there all the time.
Yeah, they are. You're breathing? Okay, good. The thing is, not everybody wants to embrace that, because they want to go have a real life.
Sure.
We never had a real life, because we were fortunate enough to run into each other a long time ago, because I doubt you would be in this business as long as you've been in this business if you were married to somebody on land, or if you went to land and I stayed on the ships, that our marriage would last 10 minutes?
No, it's just
20?
to be separated, to be married and be separated. Why get married?
Yeah, and especially
So
because
we had agreed that if something would happen, we moved to land, we would do it together.
So looking back, there's nothing you regret.
No.
The highlights are great. Christening on the Norwegian Sky. And
the Cleator, the SS Norway. Nope, I wouldn't change a minute.
And going forward, well, I'm trying to talk Dottie into being on my podcast at least just once a week, because it would bring up my listeners great. Just for that laugh. I don't want to talk to a wall every day. I'm getting tired of that, but I doubt it's going to work because you're semi-retired now as of March 3rd. But going forward, you have a 26-day Amazon river cruise coming up.
Oh, the first cruise, yes.
And you also, not confirmed, but you received an email.
That Sandy Cares, my favorite lecturer, will be there.
Because I won't.
Well, one of my favorite. There's a lot of them.
Yeah, but I won't be on that cruise. And so now Dottie has somebody to run with. Because I won't be hosting tables where I can talk the way I do now too much. So she'll have somebody else to be there. So
Sandy will be there with me.
Well, I hope we've answered any questions you've had. And look back at 38 years. We probably missed a lot. When we're done here, we'll think, we didn't talk about this, we didn't talk about that. But I think, looking back, it was a pretty good career.
Very, very lucky to have met the people that I've met, to travel the world how many times over, and to see the sights that we've seen.
All right. Well, I thank you. On behalf of all the listeners, I already had texts from people going, where is it? Where is it? We had audio issues because I'm not an audio guy, and we had to redo it. So this is the third time, basically, that we've redone it, and we might have to do it again. I'm looking at it, and I'm kidding. Should be fun. Because it's Saturday and time to go to church and say a novena and pray for me to stay awake for another couple of years. So that worked out pretty good. And don't forget to check out our website, bestofseatours.com. Seriously, next year when Dottie joins the team full-time, I am the chief fun guy. That's what I do. I take care of everybody having fun. And Dottie will be the chief babysitter because she will be there to answer all the questions and make sure you have all the information. And the third part of this trilogy is Jimmy, my partner. He's the chief organizer. He keeps our ducks, pardon the pun, in a row, and follows up and reminds everybody to fill out their paperwork and open the account and make sure your passport doesn't expire 6 months, all those little things like that. So together,
there's still time to join us on the last hurrah. So.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. The prices have never been lower, and they haven't been on Oceania. You can join us. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. One of the events is lunch in La Chosa, which is Dottie's favorite restaurant. When I first went there, it had dirt floors.
No, it didn't.
It did.
No, it didn't.
I remember. Your brother remembers it, but now it has concrete. And we'll have fajitas, margaritas, cervezas, and sangria. And those mariachi guys will be going table to table annoying you. You can find out all about that on the Best of Sea Tours website. And you sure you want to quit? All right, because if you don't quit, I'll drop the podcast and the travel agency, and I'll just go back to sitting at the Waves pool bar until security comes.
No, 38 years.
You're done?
It's time.
As Luis Lamar said.
Luis Lamar said, you'll know when it's time.
All right.
He was only there maybe 7-8 years. I have 38 years.
Well, I think at least every 7-8 years, I've thought it was time and then never did it. No?
No, not for me.
Okay.
No.
I believe you. You're the one that goes to church. All right. Thank you, everybody. And I hope you enjoy the podcast. Next week, I will sit down. I will Zoom, actually, with Ryan Joseph. I'm calling him the Paul Schaefer of Nashville. He's been Alan Jackson's fiddler and backup singer for the last 12 or 14 years. And when he moved to Nashville from McKeesport, Pennsylvania, he was the elevator operator at the Country Music Hall of Fame. And now he's also will be hiring the band that will back up Alan for his last performance, June 27th. All the stars of the country music business, Eric Church and Luke Bryan and Luke Combs and Miranda Lambert and probably George Strait. And so he went from being the elevator operator to being the Paul Schaefer of Nashville. from McKeesport, another one from McKeesport. And that's going to be a fun interview too with Ryan. Have a great day, everybody. And thanks. And thank you, Dottie.
Thank you, Tom.
Okay, you can go finish my dinner now.